Hello and welcome back to the channel. This is Prickly Hedgehog. Today I'd like to talk a little bit about some analysis, at least, and perhaps some more observations, really, about WINWING's showcase at the recent Flight Sim Expo 2025. So one of the things that really impressed me, and it seems to have impressed a lot of people that were there, was the work that they're doing on force feedback systems. So not only are they doing a flight stick system, they're also working on yokes, and they introduced pedals, which I think is a really interesting and clever way of cornering the market in that area. So let's take a look at the video that was released recently and showcases some of the material that they're working on, which is really, in my mind, the leader in force feedback equipment right now.
For the Cyber Taurus, that's our force feedback yoke, and based on our debut in the March, we also had an upgrade for the exterior things for this one, finding that a better balance between the industrial designs and the practical use. The brand new Outlook also comes with integrated die casting with aviation-grade aluminum alloy. The Cyber Taurus will come with two models with a full version for force feedback gradients. It's a further validation for bringing us commercial qualities into the consumer market. Now, I won't dive into this crazy, stuff back there. So it's just a generic description for our force feedback models. We have reconstructed the whole flight control system based on a real aviation engineer standards. Next generation of our software will include every aircraft control data we could possibly find. With the state-of-the-art algorithms that we have and the precision hardware, we're able to say we have recreated the actual relationship between the stick force, attitude, G-loads, and air data. So now, our software as a part of this part of the product are so good. It reminds me of a great quote from a computer science, Alan Kay. Alan said, people who are really serious about their software should make their hardware. Now, that's exactly what we have achieved. Sorry, that was a mistake. So we have developed a unique multi-channel feedback technology to help the hardware process in the different types of feedback signal at the same time to achieve a precision control originated with the different aircrafts, from different aircrafts. And from the product upgrades to the production capacity layouts, and we're also getting a solid boost from our supply chain. The full capacity productions of the third factory's WINWING will achieve in 2026. Now we will continue to shorten the time frame for the product being delivered. Now we understand some of the challenges for our customers. They're waiting a long time to getting the product shipped. So.
Okay, so we'll interrupt. That's really interesting. So if we go back here just to look at the images of the product, so you can see it's fully encased. Looks like we've got probably some plastic pieces, but also a lot of aluminium, industrial, aircraft grade aluminium as well, sort of housing this whole thing. So it looks kind of like a, something off a motorbike engine or some sort of auto industry type thing. But regardless, this is a very beefy looking piece of equipment. Now, it's not clear to me at this point, as an end user, which of these you would buy based on your particular needs. 60 meters of force seems like it's a fair bit, and I don't know if that's necessary. Depending on what you're flying, it might come down to, I suspect it could be useful more for a yoke because you've got a long stick, so therefore you've got more, sort of torque that you could put on it. But that's a little bit of a guess at this point. So I'm going to need a little bit more information as to which one you would need with the sort of these middle of the road ones here, just based on what they have provided, whether that is more useful for, say, a DCS application or even Microsoft Flight Simulator, so on and so forth. So hard to know exactly how much you're going to need. Obviously, this is massively useful. He talked there about the amount of data they've collected to be able to recreate as many aircraft as you could probably imagine to accurately recreate the stick forces, the vibration, so on and so forth that you would experience in that aircraft with this system based on the software data. Later on, he talks a little bit about work with DCS World to recreate the forces that you would expect to see in, say, the MiG-29 module that they've got. Now, as we roll forward again, talked about supply chain there. Oops, went a little too far. We're looking at 2026. So we're halfway through 2025, and they aim to ramp up production or have production ready by 2026 with this facility by the looks of things. So this is interesting too, because remember back in 2024 when they first released or showcased a system, it was a much smaller module comparatively than what, I shouldn't say that. It didn't look as complex perhaps as what the system is that they are showcasing here. So it was akin more to what Moser was operating and had also revealed last year at the 2024 Flight Sim Expo. And WinWing, from people that I talked to who talked to them, indicated they were still in the early stages, that it wasn't quite ready. They had touted that we were looking at a Q4 2024 release, but I suspect that they tinkered with or had a play with the Moser system. Based on customer feedback, if you like, they went back to the drawing board, and that's why we have this big delay. So a year between the 2024 Flight Sim Expo, which was in Vegas, and then now, they have done a tremendous amount of work, and that's why there has been this delay. I definitely want to get my hands on one of these units. It is very, very clever what they've done. They've gone all in on the force feedback system, as we will see here. So we'll just play out this little bit here and then maybe go through to the pedals, which I think, again, is a very, very clever way of cornering that market, because force feedback kind of died away a little bit. We went into cams and springs. That seemed to be effective, but as flight simulation has evolved, we have had an increase in demand, particularly with helicopters. It's very useful for that, where the stick behavior is a little bit different. The cyclic behavior is a little bit different from what you perhaps can get from, or certainly you can get from cams and springs and things. So we'll just round out this little bit here.
The WINWING will achieve in 2026.
So again,
now we'll
2026.
continue to shorten the time frame for the product being delivered. Now we understand some of the challenges for our customers. They're waiting a long time to getting that product shipped. So yeah, we're solving that problem as we speak. Now, let's get back to our product lineup. Now, this year, we'll come up with a closer to finish setup for you.
So he's going to go here through a bunch of civilian stuff. We're talking here, the panels up here, these data computers here, flight computers, and a few other switches besides. This is really interesting here. This is a side-by-side system here. So one of the things I'm very interested in is the pedals that we're going to talk about. Well, he's going to talk about in just a sec. But again, also this, you can see, again, this very beefy looking structure here that houses the force feedback for the joystick. But again, it was very clever to go into the pedals as well. And of course, not just the joystick, but also yokes, as well as, again, flight sticks. So we'll scroll forward here to, okay, so here are the pedals, and there's civilian versions as well. So we'll go back there. Oh, there was a lot of excitement about this. You can see the price points here too, but there's a lot of excitement about the nose wheel steering for civilian aircraft. Again, nice little touches, and also affordable based on what they are providing. For those of you that are really into, simulation cockpits, this is a huge bonus.
So, following the rod and throttle pedals for combat flight, this time we'll bring the new civilian aviation versions for you all. If we compare the ways of interaction, the combat version steps via the arch with the 30 degrees travel of your toe. Airline versions control with the heels at 15 degrees your toe. So All that said, pressure point on the pressure point on the pedals for your foot and its anchor point of the rod will exactly replicate for the real rudder pedals deflections on the aircraft. Same as the travel range for the pedals when you step down. So, and it's a new design, high strength metal skeleton design, always built to last. You ready? Yeah. Here we go.
So again, pretty affordable when you consider a lot of these units range in price for, you know, anywhere $250 to $350. And I do like what he said there. The all metal construction, again, built to last.
Now, they are...
Again, too, I like the double axis point here. It's built not just on one. Some of these they get pretty complex, but they've gone for a pretty robust looking double strut system on an axis pivot here. And then you've got the force feedback system in the back. You see we've got a printer, looks like a couple of ports there. So we'll see, and that probably one will connect to the PC, probably one to another module, maybe the yoke or the flight stick, we'll see.
A force feedback version for it. We actually have a 2 force feedback version for it. So you see the black shaped stuff on the backside of the rudder. Taurus module.
So we've got a Hall sensor there as well compared to the other one. And that's really interesting. So realistic pedal rotation mechanism, realistic brake travel, and then auto switching. This is the big stuff here, this plug and play things that Tony was talking about. It's going to work based on the aircraft that you have. Really cool feature.
Now we got force feedback on the rudder. The device has a more solid strength structure than the original Orion rudder, and it's also the auto switching features on the different types of aircraft, right? Plug and play, it's gonna sense, it's gonna switch the actual profile. You don't need to intervene.
So, yeah. So a lot more expensive, but probably worth it, given what you're getting there.
No!
There you go. Which is, that's a huge drop in price. So really wowed the crowd there. That's a massive price cut there. I forgot about that when I first scrolled through the video.
All right, so this one with the higher control panel pressures. This one would be $599 with the higher pressures.
All right, so $100 difference there between those two units. Higher force pressures, as he's saying there. Again, not sure which one you're going to need depending on what you're flying. What the difference is there. Hard to tell the difference here. This one seems to be slightly taller than the back here for the motor unit. So
that's the final price over there. For our combat panels.
All right, so this is really interesting.
Same thing with the force feedback things on the back.
So remember too that a lot of the pedals over the last couple of years, to accommodate helicopter functionality, they've had those damper systems you can put on them. I have one on my verbal controls system, and that reduces the auto centering system. So I'm curious to see the programming and whether or not this system will, like the flight stick or the yoke, manage that particular functionality where it will stay in that position. It doesn't auto recenter until you ask it to.
$199. $599. So.
Wow. So
I won't repeat the previous.
So again, this is some really interesting kit going on here. You can see the ghosted out position of where the pedals would be as a unit. I wonder if these yokes need that more powerful motor to control the amount of torque, because you've got more leverage, but that's just a guess at this point.
Slides, it's a true to scale, a recreation, true to life, control motion dynamic, auto switching functions. The load are awesome on this thing. So we have those numbers over there already.
So there we go. So I'll just go back there a little bit.
Life, control motion dynamic, auto switching functions. The load are awesome.
So there we go there. So pushing and pulling, 65 newtons again. And for the twist there, if you like, you've got 9.1 newton meters. Okay. Yeah, that's a really incredible piece of kit. I can't think of anything that I've seen like that from a major manufacturer like this. So this is what the holdup is. This is why they've gone all out based on what they've picked up from the prior expo. Recognized that there was a marketplace, because some of these you can buy in sort of like a more of a box type system on the desktop. There's a shaft behind this that you can pull back and forth, similar to kind of like the Cessna sort of desktop ones. This is much more encompassing than that, and they really have knocked it out of the park. If these things, live up to what the expectation is, this really incredible move forward in flight simulation peripherals.
This thing, so we have those numbers over there already. So it's like a true mimic on a grip, ergonomical grip, realistic curvatures, true to life, control motion dynamics, high density power integrations, high torque, low reductions, minimal inertia, those kind of things. Auto switching, so you don't need to intervene, right? Plug and play.
All right, so the price point on that is to be determined. What we know, if we've got $500-600 for one of these, oops, and let's have a look. We've got motors on each of this. Well, this one here has some sort of pulley system that's attached to this motor that probably runs through this column. We're probably somewhere in the vicinity of close to $1,000, if not a little bit more. We'll see. I don't want to, guess too much because it's difficult to know. But that is an incredible system.
I'm sorry. All right, now for
yeah, so this is something we want to see now. WINWING obviously teamed up with DCS, and let's see what.
For our combat veterans, we dedicate this chapter to you. WINWING partnered with the world-class flight simulator developer the Eagle Dynamics to forge the ultimate weapon for the true sky hunter, the MiG-29 grips. The MiG-29 HOTAS, it's Total Command legendary MiG-29. In-depth collaboration with the ED, featuring exclusive system-level integrations and a seamless fusion of software and hardware. It's a metal framework engineered to take extreme G-load. And if you want to use this thing on other aircraft, no problems. They're all part of our ecosystem.
All right, so that's a couple of $100 for the flight stick. And interesting, you've got the little hand rest, so you can adjust the height of where your hand sits. A really long lever there, and yeah, pretty interesting looking stick. Obviously mimicking what you'd find in a MiG-29. A little bit different from some of the other sticks, but functionality is not dissimilar in terms of the hats. Trigger underneath there somewhere, and other buttons for releasing this, that, and the other. So no major surprises there. Looks pretty cool. Looks we've got a lot of plastic in there, so hard to know how much metal. If that's looks like we've got metal on the shaft, which would be to be expected for strength. But everything else looks more plastic. We've got screws in there, which holding bits and pieces together. So They make pretty good equipment, so I expect that'll be a popular accompaniment for those of you who are really into the MiG-29. You probably could use it pretty handily on the Fulcrum too.
Surprise for it. The throttles.
Yeah, pretty basic throttle grip there, but as you can see, there it is attached to... And I wonder if there's going to be extenders as well for helicopters. I don't know whether or not those are being made, whether those are going to be available at the time of the release of the system. But boy, that's interesting. So that's the 60 there too, the top end for the maximum amount of NM.
Now, the MiG-29 hardware is our focus right now for a little while, on this side of the business. It's not just a simple collaboration, it's a shared adventure on the road of hardcore simulations. With the Eagle Dynamics' help, we'll be able to recreate the flight characteristics of a MiG-29 in a normal flights or in a combat scenario. I believe our adventure will provide an immersive experience for combat aviators. Now, this is our full new release line for WINWING.
All right, yeah, so lots of things to take away from that. The price point's pretty good, given how much tech is packed in there and that massive increase in immersion that you're going to get and experience. It won't matter for jets like the F-16 quite so much because you're not getting that feedback through the stick like you would with a hydraulic actuated system. But for the older jets, the more analog jets, like say for example, Granelli Designs F-100D, which is looking pretty promising, and certainly the helicopters, this will be a huge bonus. So yeah, let me know what your thoughts are. I think it's fantastic. This combination of equipment is incredible, and for those of you who enjoy the civilian aviation, all of these panels and things are massively interesting and probably a great way to help build up a virtual cockpit, which traditionally, a few years ago, people were just, buying these things on as individual panels, making them themselves, having to do all the programming, etc., etc. So much more involved. Being able to buy some of these panels at least as a complete unit, plug and play, and also broken up in a mechanism that's potentially affordable. That's a huge deal. And then again, the pedals as well are a massive addition. Being able to go full into the force feedback, not just with the joystick / flight stick, but actually getting into the pedals as well is a very, very clever means of capturing the market and cornering the market there. So they've done an amazing job, and we'll have to wait and see what 2026 looks like for the release of these products. Because as I said, I'd love to get my hands on one of these. I think it's a fantastic looking piece of equipment. All right, cheers.